Hello, and welcome to Now We Know, where we revisit traumatic and delightful kids' pop culture of the 80s and 90s.
Yep, each episode we pick something impactful from our childhood to look at through the jaded eyes of adulthood. I'm Kevin Wertheiser, and with me, as basically always, is Chris Dognati.
That's right, I am basically always here. Kevin, we've obviously, in the last few weeks, we've each missed an episode we would normally have been on.
I wouldn't say I'd been missing it, Tog.
Is this your new... You've seen No Country for Old Men. When Stephen Root says to Woody Harrelson...
I wasn't thinking of that.
Says to Woody Harrelson, an attempt at humor? That's how I feel about what you just said. Is this your new thing, calling me Tog?
No, it was because I wouldn't say I'd been missing it. Bob is the line from Office Space, and that was as close to Bob as I could get for you.
Well, it was sheer coincidence, then, that I brought up Stephen Root, sort of the breakout star of Office Space.
Yeah.
No.
No Country for Old Men. Anyway,
so, yeah,
as we were saying, Young Indiana Jones.
The Young Indiana Jones episode brought to you by Kevin.
At long last. It is one that has been with me always. Never seemed like the right time. The real issue, and we ran into that today, is that the episodes are quite long. I had forgotten that they combined a lot of them into one long movie for their release on digital video disc, or digital versatile disc, as I think of them. And they did that, to cut out basically all the old indie stuff, which I liked, where the old man comes out and he's got an eye patch and looks not a lot like Harrison Ford does now at 80. But
yeah.
But that said, I did always like that stuff, and I thought it was sad that they did that, but this is what we got. So I always was like, well, I want to watch a bunch of it, but it's really kind of daunting. So this time we're just picking really the top two that I have almost memorized, especially the second one we watched. I didn't even remember quite the level of detail. Had you been here, had we been still doing watch-alongs, it would be basically a read-along for me.
Okay. Well, that would have been a very unpleasant way to experience it for the first time, so I'm glad we weren't together.
Sorry.
No, I did a little bit of glancing around about this. I learned that some people on the Reddit, the Indiana Jones Reddit, don't care for the performance of Mr. George Hill, is that his name, or George Hall as Old Indy?
I think Hall.
Hall?
I couldn't spell it.
I have seen a number of people claim that the show itself and the way it presents Old Indy is, quote, disrespectful to Indy. That's not appropriately respectful to make it out like he's this doddering old man who, like, has to corner people in situations where, like, there's some pretense for why he's talking to them, and then he's just like Grandpa Simpson talking about the onions on his belt.
Mister, get your arm out of that mailbox. I mean now. Tampering with U.S. mail is a federal offense.
I dropped the wrong package in, that's all. This is what I intended to drop in the box.
Once you drop something in that box, it becomes the property of the U.S. government until delivery.
Oh, dear me. I haven't had so much trouble delivering a package since the incident in Vienna, back when I was a spy.
Spy? You mean like James Bond?
I mean a real spy in the war.
What war?
World War I. Of course, we didn't number it at the time because we had no idea there was going to be a sequel.
The idea that this is, like, not on, that you shouldn't portray Indy this way. To those people, I can only say, you're just afraid about what's coming.
Yes,
Look,
exactly right.
The truth of it is, you can live a life every bit as terrifying, adventuresome, and impressive as Indiana Jones and see all these things. Almost touch the face of God. Travel back in time with the dial of destiny. And yet, if you live long enough someday, you could try to explain some of this to some little shit who's on there. I don't even know what they'll have instead of phones in 50 years.
Right, yeah.
But he'll be sitting there with their new phone that sort of looks like a Bop It. You remember the toy, the Bop It? It's like there's all these infernal cranks. It's like a Dr. Seuss 5,000 Fingers of Mr. T style machine you're manipulating.
Mr. T.
Sorry, Dr. T.
You didn't go to 4 years of piano medical school to be called Mr.
At some point, they'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about, old man? I don't give a shit about any of this. Yeah. And that comes for everyone, unless you're rich enough that people have to humor you. So if you don't want this to happen, sell your soul for money. But otherwise, your good works, your gallivanting around the globe, won't save you. You'll end up a weird old man with an eye patch for some reason. We never... At the start of the first episode I watched of this, the first episode you assigned, which came later in the run, is that the only one where Harrison comes back?
Yes.
Okay.
Tragically.
Well, he comes back. He's not missing an eye then. And he is depicted as 51 or 52 years old in that. So what adventure did he get up to between the ages of 51 and 70 or however old he is that has left him eyeless? Like he's sort of aged out of what you would think of as his big boss level of infiltration work.
Maybe it's just some infection. He just got a little poke in the eye, then it fell out. We don't know. Did you see? Was Old Indy in the ones you were watching? Because he's not in the ones. Oh, okay.
No, I've only seen pictures. I've never even heard his voice.
Oh,
wow. I saw people say that there was some speculation that the look of Old Indy with the eye patch was a reference to John Ford.
Yeah,
who you see in The Fabelmans, portrayed expertly by David Lynch. With the, would you have preferred if David Lynch had been Old Indy?
Obviously, I was in Verdun. So much death, but also very nice chateau.
She started kissing me all over my body, wherever it hurt. But let's just say I was playing up the hurt.
Yes, of course I wish that. So I take it, therefore, that you did not grow up with Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
No, I didn't. And maybe that's part of what I'm beginning to sense, maybe a difference of opinion between us on this. I did not watch this as a kid. I will say that I don't think I would have enjoyed it as a kid. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of gumption for these, like... You know, nowadays I watch Columbo. I love Columbo. Columbo's the same kind of thing, where it's like each one of these is kind of like a little movie that is on TV. Yeah. What did you think I was?
I don't know. They don't have the same vibe as Columbo, especially the World War I one that we watched, where it's just like constant death and explosions. It doesn't feel like a Columbo episode to me.
Yeah. Well, it is in fact the same sort of production premise as Columbo, which, I mean, this is a good lesson in not... jumping in with your braying laughter when I'm trying to finish my thought. I didn't have a lot of gumption for these like double wide TV things when I was a kid. When you're a kid, something being on TV for an hour feels impossibly long. Less so if you're interested in it, but you know, my grandmother would watch these soap operas. All My Children is on for 42 minutes plus commercials, an hour of broadcast time. And I know I can't use this TV till she's done with this. Horrible. May as well have been 10,000 years before I got to use that TV. But yeah, no, this is the first I've seen of it. I did obviously see, I saw Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That was the first one I saw. I saw Temple of Doom about 5 years later, when I was like 13, 14. And I played the DOS game that we did for the show several years ago, The Last Crusade. I guess I played it on Windows. And that was all the indie I experienced as a kid, and indeed, period, until Crystal Skull came out. I did play a demo of Indiana Jones and the Lost City of Atlantis at one point. But I never liked that as much because I couldn't map it onto the movie. If you've seen the movie and you're playing the game of the movie, you sort of know where it's supposed to go, and that stands in for having to call the Sierra hotline for $5 a minute.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was very much an Indiana Jones kid. Loved him. When asked as a child what I wanted to be when I grew up, the answer was archaeologist. Because that's what this guy does.
And little did you know how wrong you were about that, what you liked of this.
I don't know. We dig up Eddie Vedder's old bones every show. Yeah, but this could not have been more up my alley. I couldn't believe that they were making a Young Indiana Jones show. I saw Last Crusade in theaters And this came out 4 years later, 3 and 4 years later. It felt like an eternity. It felt like, well, there's been no Indiana Jones forever. It's all over. Certainly once Harrison Ford did his one episode, I was like, wow, he's so old now. It'd be kind of cool to see him in a movie now, but he's probably just too old. Simply too old to take up the mantle of Indy one more time, 4 years after the last time he did. I mean,
he's sort of like, obviously he would portray Indy much older than that. But it's a weird, like, middle, because Harrison Ford basically, until now, now, was playing like 10 to 12 years younger than his actual age his whole career.
Yes.
But there, he's, I guess, in his early 50s, if that, or maybe like 49 or so. Something but like he's that. He just has a slight look of like the softness of a middle-aged man that you have never seen him with before. Yeah, I mean, I was charmed to see him. I will say, I think that maybe hurt the rest of it a little bit for me.
You're when is Harrison Ford coming back? Well, for 3 minutes at the end of the episode.
Exactly. Yeah. Sean Patrick Flannery, I did not come away with the highest opinion of him from watching these. I'm like, well, what did I love about Indy? Well, there's a lot of adventure. The movies are packed full of stuff that's happening all the time, and it's adventuresome and fun. I wasn't getting so much of that out of these episodes, I didn't feel like. The first episode felt like a pretty sleepy, round midnight style thing where young Indiana Jones is just worshiping at the altar of Sidney Bechet, and then it becomes sort of like a Poirot sort of thing towards the end.
Poirot.
Well, they're looking to solve this crime.
They're looking for the killer, sure.
The insistence on saying that everyone in his life was a famous person, not just that like someone of the time would know, but that you sitting on your couch have heard of, like Eliot Ness and Ernest Hemingway, I didn't find very charming. But I'm ahead of myself here. Obviously,
yes,
you seem fond of it. That's what I'm getting from this.
I was deeply fond of it. I loved it very much. There are many episodes I still haven't seen because there were episodes like that. I watched it as it was coming out anytime I knew it was coming on, and then it stopped coming out. But I think they released them at weird intervals. But it was appointment viewing for sure. I would tape every episode. At some point, there was quite a kerfuffle over whether I could use this one VHS tape to tape over it. What's good about this is something I still feel bad about because I won the battle, but lost the war in that I still feel bad about it. I taped over my brother Christian, who had taped Eric Clapton Unplugged on this tape, on my Indiana Jones tape. And I was like, well, it's Indiana Jones week. I must use it. He's like, well, but I was going to record this. I was going to put it on an audio tape. And my mom was like, well, the time has come. You've waited too long, and now you can't do it.
Yeah.
I feel bad about this. My brother Christian, there is no reality in which he remembers one thing about this. It is only I wouldn't
be so sure.
I promise you, he is not a memory guy. He does not remember anything from childhood. Only I feel bad. Anyway, but there was also the little kid ones, which I spared you watching, where he's like 12 years old, and those are pretty dastardly.
When was that pyramid built?
Over 4,000 years old, by King Chaos. It's one of the largest constructions ever made by man, and one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Very good.
I wonder if I would have preferred that. My issue here is that, like, for me, a huge part of the charm, I mean, people have said this about, when they reassess Star Wars now. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, we all love Han Solo, this character who defined this archetype of this kind of character. Why don't we have more characters like this? It's like, well, Han Solo was portrayed by Harrison Ford. And you don't have another one of those. You don't have a guy who can give you that kind of thing. They really don't make people like that anymore. They only had one to begin with in a period of time that felt more likely to generate that kind of person. Mm-hmm. And now you don't. So what you think of is like, oh, I love Han Solo, the character. It's like the character on the page could be very unlikable and staid compared to what you get when Harrison Ford's doing it. Indiana Jones, I suspect is the same kind of thing. But also, it's like, I had issues with the characterization of him in this.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, like, if he's a kid, it's like, this is Kid Indy, then I can be like, well, when he's a kid, he could be anything, right?
Yeah.
But this, it's like, how old was he? He's in college, or he's like going to school in the first one we watched, and he is already a veteran of World War I at that point.
Right.
So presumably he was in World War I when he was 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And then, so he must be like 20, 21 in that subsequent episode. So it's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might know the chronology better than me. I feel like that means it's like he's at most 3.5 years around away from meeting and deflowering not preteen, but an underage Marion Ravenwood.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I don't know his timeline with her. But because we don't even know if that's before or after Temple of Doom.
Well, I guess maybe I am better apprised of this than you. I remember looking this up months ago. Temple of Doom, if I'm correct, is much less time to Lost Ark than I thought.
Oh, okay.
I think it's only like 3 years beforehand or something like that.
Still plenty of time.
But the Marion...
time to go back to graduate school? Oh, but he is doctor already. He's already Dr. Jones.
The Marion stuff happens like when he's like... I just looked it up. He's 25 when he meets her. And she's 16, despite George Lucas's vehement insistences that not be it.
I don't... yes.
In a certain sense, he's right. It would be more interesting. Interesting is a morally neutral statement.
I don't know. Is it? Anyway, what Chris is referring to is some behind the scenes like transcription of George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and I'm forgetting his name, but the screenwriter of Raiders of the Lost Ark, discussing what was the backstory with Indy and Marion. And there's much discussion, what can I say, of the era where they're like, well, obviously every rock star has a girlfriend that's 13 right now, here in 1979. So why wouldn't it be more interesting if his girlfriend were 11 or something? I don't think that should be true, and it isn't true in the movie. It is not stated.
That's true.
This is all headcanon.
It's true. They pull it out of one category of allegations about Woody Allen and drag it into a separate, less objectionable but still objectionable bucket of Woody Allen behaviors.
Yeah.
They're like, no, this is like, you don't understand. This is the girl in Manhattan, very sophisticated. This isn't. Yeah, but he. So, just on a given timeline of that character, and I think you see him at different ages. It jumps around in the mainline films. Obviously, the last two aren't much to write home about. And obviously, I don't like Temple of Doom that much. So really, as a character that, given that I didn't enjoy these episodes so much, I guess I'm not that into the show, presumably.
Yeah, no,
sort of a character that I think of as really liking his stuff. It's like, but he's only been in 2 good movies, and all the rest of it I'm pretty lukewarm on.
Yeah.
The thing that is appealing in Temple of Doom and then the subsequent movies is the characterization of him as being, you're walking through like him being more cynical and sort of out for himself, and then he gets perspective about not doing colonialism and stuff like that, and then he starts hoarding all his stuff in museums where the people whose cultures they came from can't get to them easily without getting on a plane. Which is less colonialist than what he was doing before, where I guess he had a big shed he was keeping it all in.
You're just melting it down for the gold. If, Raiders of the Lost Ark had taken place before Temple of Doom, he would be a rich old man by the time he's telling his little stories, because he'd have that fertility idol's worth of gold. It's
true. But, like, I see him in this when he's a teenager or a young adult, and I'm like, you do. I can't see any through line between this performance and who he is, like, I guess he's supposed to be like in his late 20s, maybe just around 30 in Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this doesn't strike me as like, oh, you went through some shit that changed your attitude towards things. I'm like, no, this is just bad writing. This is just like you've written a different character. And I feel like it's because, well, no, he's young Indiana Jones. He has to be unflappably kind. He has to have all the right opinions about everything.
Mm-hmm.
There can't be any moment where you're like, oh, is he also racist against Sidney Bechet? No, that's unspoken that he's not, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's like, no, he has to be unassuming. The 2 episodes we watched, they're not really diving into him being like a ladies' man as such, which he certainly is later, even when he is portrayed as being kind of the butt of all the jokes. He is still obviously also a sexual dynamo. They're not really like... He's not playing it that way, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like, no, he has to be goofy fun that we can all root for with no rough edges.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next time in the Indiana Jones canon you see him, chronologically, is Temple of Doom. And you're like, the whole point here is there's nothing but rough edges. And if you didn't get those rough edges from the World War I shit, where did they come from? Like, that's a week after that, he's like, all right, let's go to Paris and get laid. Like, he could not be less affected by any of the horrible things he saw.
Yeah. No, it is certainly bad writing. The through line does not exist. I mean, I think River Phoenix's performance as original Young Indy has much more of that energy. Because, I mean, it's River Phoenix. He had actual... You know, the thing is that this is Young Indy... They should have brought him back. This is Young Indy when he was just a quirked up young white boy with the sauce. He is not a Harrison
Ford. A white boy toot the horn like this, Sidney?
He is not on a trajectory to become Harrison Ford ever. But this is just it's an OVA. It's an alternate dimension. The thing is, like, yes, I acknowledge all of that, but I also didn't care. But I will also say, as I started to some time ago, I haven't seen every episode because many times when I have gone back to watch them, I've been like, oh, I'll watch this one I've never heard of. And it's terrible. So I wonder if I do wonder if I would like these ones at all if I didn't love them so much, from being a kid watching them. But I will say that I know many various and many children who are fans of the show at present. So I do think, some of it is just when it was a kid's show, when you are a kid.
Sure.
So if we can briefly delve into the episodes we actually watched instead of going straight to the final conclusion of whether we liked the show or not.
Sure.
The 2 episodes we watched were in opposite order of air date and chronology for Henry Jones Jr. Were Mystery of the Blues and Demons of Deceit, which I don't believe was its original title for the beginning of it, because this one is half the Verdun story and half the Mata Hari story. I've never watched the Mata Hari one, written by Carrie Fisher apparently, so now I'm kind of intrigued, but the first half is not. So the first one, Mystery of the Blues, does start with old Indy, currently 7 years older than Indy, because in the credits it says Indiana Jones 50.
Do you bring this up because you're soliciting, like, are you wanting me to give my opinion whether you now
me or Harrison
Ford at 7 years older looks better? Is that something you're inviting?
No, it's the dark reality where you're like, oh, look at how old he is. Well, he's still a little bit fun. He obviously couldn't win any fight ever. He is much too frail and old for that, but he can still drive a truck a little bit.
He's got, like, when you see him driving the truck, I was like, oh, you can tell he's not... I don't know what he was doing career-wise. When did this come out? Was this 91?
No, it's like 92 or 93.
92 or 93. I guess I don't know what... That's around the Fugitive time, right?
Yeah.
Around there. But when he's driving, I'm like, oh, he doesn't quite have that tight indie jawline. He's got, like, a little bit of a double chin going. I was like, oh, hey.
He also has a beard. He actively has never had a beard as Indy.
Whoa! Good Lord! This is not as you said it would be, Dr. Jones! I got it back to you, didn't I? Yes, but for how long?
Well, that's because he's letting himself go. He's just
he might have been letting
he's
himself
sitting
go
there
right
tooting
then,
his plastic horn and eating eating microwave pork buns all day.
What's funny is it's not plastic. What's funny is he is it's set the opening. He's driving in the snow. There's an indigenous dude next to him. They have taken some manner of pipe, and that is important to his culture, and they're being chased and shot at for it. It says Wyoming. I think Harrison Ford doesn't he live in Wyoming? I bet you that they were like, "Hey Harry, we want you for one episode of Young Indy to try and juice our stats a little bit." And he's like, "Well, I'm not leaving Wyoming, and I'm not shaving. I'm not getting in shape." And they're like, "Deal, absolutely. Anything you say, Mr. F." That's my impression, and I'm gonna shoot it all in one day, one take each day.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, once they're in the cabin, they're fleeing in an old pickup. They get run off the road into a snowbank. They find this cabin to hide out in because there's a storm going on. Excellent fake snow here. The snow looks so incredible.
Good. The snow's gonna cover our tracks.
All of the digital effects in this look like total ass now, but they looked great at the time. It was utterly believable. Not all of it. I wonder how much is just the transfer to digital. I know that's why they could never put out a Blu-rays, because all the effects were made for SD. But they do look well bad now.
So they go in the cabin, and the indigenous fellow you referenced, his name is Gray Cloud. Indiana Jones says, "Don't be so nervous, Gray Cloud. No one's going to come after us until this storm blows over." Then he just looks in this nearby box and finds a comically tiny soprano saxophone. I had always thought of soprano sax as the long, straight one, Kenny G style,
right,
which also does exist because Sidney Bechet will later reference the long, straight style of soprano sax. But this is shaped like a traditional alto, but it's just very small. And it frankly makes Harrison Ford look small and like a figure of derision to see him holding it in his big meaty hands. He's got this tiny, I called it plastic. It may as well be plastic the way this thing looks. It looks like he's found a child's toy and he's like in a little bit of reverie as he's fooling around with it.
Isn't the real story that I thought it was plastic? It's funny because it's like he's now returning artifacts. Like he's gone full woke. And it seemingly broke because that truck doesn't look nice.
Truck doesn't look nice. He's not as put together either. Like he's still got the leather jacket, but he's got like extra padding under it, which made me laugh. Which made me laugh because it's like extra padding under it. So this is what you do when it's cold. When you're somewhere where it's 98 degrees and max humidity like a jungle, you just wear the leather jacket.
Yes.
You've heard Harrison Ford talk about that, right?
No.
That when they were shooting Raiders of the Lost Ark, he went to Spielberg and was like, "Why the fuck am I wearing a leather jacket? It's fucking hot in the jungle. This doesn't make any sense." And he was like, "You'll get it when you see it. It's going to look great." He was like, he was right, but it is ridiculous. You go out hiking on a temperate day wearing a leather jacket. Within 10 minutes, I'm like, "Oh, this is pretty, it's getting a little swampy in here."
Yeah. So Gray Cloud is like, this is the most important artifact of my people. And Indy is like, well, here's a sacred relic of my past. Toot toot. I thought it was, even as a kid, I was like, that's a little disrespectful, Indy. He's like about to have his big moment where he tells you why this is important, and you're like, anyway, I have a story about when I was a kid.
Whatever. He's fucking risking his life pro bono to get this pipe back for him. He's allowed to tell a weird little story about his past. Now, would I prefer that weird little story not be 80 minutes long? Yes, I would. Would I prefer that more of it had, like, adventures happening? Yes, I would.
The second half is pure adventure. There's all kinds of, it's really good action for a TV show. But anyway, he starts to tell this story, and yes, everyone in it is famous, and maybe he's just old and just making that up. But also in this reality, Sidney Bechet is like dining out on the fact that he knew Indiana Jones when he was a kid.
Yeah.
He's the most famous person in the room at all times. Ask a kid who Indiana Jones is, they'll still know. Well, they don't know Ernest Hemingway.
kids only know who Indiana Jones is here in our reality, which is not the same reality as the canon of this show. So it's in the reality of the show. I don't know that Indiana Jones is famous. I bet Sidney Bechet is still more famous than him. Certainly Hemingway's more famous. Elliot Ness probably more famous too.
Yeah.
Really,
I don't know.
Really ground my gears when I realized that was Elliot Ness. I was not thrilled with that.
That's hilarious. Because to me, it's just like, yes, everywhere he goes, anytime he goes, he meets every famous person. Because he's a cool guy that would meet all the famous people. Because they're famous for being moving and shaking, not for just like, being a dude that existed.
It's a proto Forrest Gump. It's like, what if everywhere things were happening, there was Indiana Jones?
No, because Indiana Jones is doing stuff. He is doing exciting, fun stuff, and therefore he runs into exciting, fun people. Forrest Gump is just chilling.
He's not just chilling. They both serve in the military for some fucking reason. I don't know why Forrest got drafted, presumably. Do they ever explain why young Indy decides to volunteer for the Belgian intelligence forces in World War One?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah, when there's a fight going on and you're young, you tend to think it's a good idea and you should sign up.
I arrived with my friend Remy. We first met in Mexico, but he was Belgian, and he'd come to join the Belgian army so he could fight the Germans who had invaded his country 2 years earlier. The truth is, when you're 17 and you see a fight going on, you tend to think it'd be a good idea to join in.
So anyway, he's, back when I was a lad and back from World War I, then I was a waiter. I wasn't that's an art of its own, really. You work your way up. Even just that he is an awkward, goofy, unsure of himself waiter to the extent that he is in this, seems not to fit in with how much just utter death and gruesome destruction he's seen throughout his war career. So it's not only that it doesn't really make sense that he becomes Harrison Ford, as he will be very soon, it's that it doesn't even make sense that he's that these episodes go together, because they don't terribly go together.
This should precede the one where he goes to war. The war stuff should be right at the end if you're going to have it.
Yeah.
But then all the death he's experienced behind him. What about all the killing he's got in front of him? I mean, let's be honest for a second. I've recently been playing this Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Those games all hammer home aren't you kind of a monster because you kill so many people? Solid Snake has come nowhere close to taking as many lives as Indiana Jones.
No,
Indiana Jones, if he's walking down that river, he's not making it out. He's going to be dragged down and drowned by the ghosts of his victims. On some level, there was something about him being a waiter that struck me really odd, too. I think it's just because in Temple of Doom, there's that part where they're in the fancy restaurant at the very beginning.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't feel like he's showing proper deference to the hard work of these service workers here, as he would if, he had been in this kind of situation before.
There's plenty of asshole billionaires who are I used to wait tables. It doesn't matter. You forget what you were, and you become the asshole. Also, he's kind of busy. He's been poisoned. He's got a big diamond to worry about.
He didn't know he was poisoned.
Willie just put on a big show.
I also just think he's not enough of a prick. The young Indiana Jones should kind of be a prick, but
that's what I was saying with
idea.
River Phoenix, that he did have a little bit of prickish energy going on, even and self-assuredness and things that young Indy should have. And little kid Indy was way worse, because at least this one's kind of affable. Little kid Indy was like, oh, it's the most irritating child you've ever known. He will be Indiana Jones. It's like, well, I don't want to see him right now.
George Lucas is fond of that sleight of hand, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it hadn't happened yet, but Rick McCallum, who produced the prequels, is the producer on these ones, the executive producer. He's like George's asshole Hollywood buddy that he can, the closest to that energy that he can stand, and I think it's too close to that energy. So
I think I went to school with his daughter.
Great. Indy is waiting tables here in the 20s in Chicago. He's going to school, went to the University of Chicago. This is all correct and canonical. His roommate is Elliot Ness. He's a big dork. I support
That's also
this.
canonical.
Yeah, this is also canonical. And Indy is in love with jazz. Sidney Bechet, as referenced many times to this point, is in this, played by Jeffrey Wright, young baby Jeffrey Wright, who I already thought was old and cool. I think that his performance, you can dislike these episodes. I think this is Sidney Bechet as far as I'm concerned. That is how he should be. That is how he was. Speaking of people that shot people, Sidney Bechet.
I don't know nearly enough about Sidney Bechet's life and times to say whether this is a faithful performance. I think it's certainly the best performance in the thing that we have seen. I mean, I like it. I don't even like it. I'm not a clarinet jazz guy.
He's not a clarinetist. He's mostly a soprano sax guy. This is the dawn of his soprano sax era. In reality, it happened in London, but in this, it happened in Chicago. But then he's like, I'd like a straight one. And so then he gives young Indy this curvy, tiny, more saxophone
this farcical child saxophone to toot around on. It was really an insult to Indy. He shows Indy nothing but disrespect at the beginning of this.
That is true.
And then
I think that's right.
And then there kind of becomes a weird, like, is this a gay thing happening here? There's a little too much love in Jeffrey's eyes when he's peering at young Indy, when he's like, oh, come up here and play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, baby.
Disagree. I mean, I don't disagree that there's some energy. I just don't think that it's too much. I think it's good.
You said you played.
Yeah, but...
I figured anyone who loved jazz might want to fool around with playing.
Indy is, like, obsessed with jazz, works at the restaurant that Sidney Bechet plays at, and so it's just like, just like peering at him at all times and trying to ingratiate himself. I heard these people when I was 12, referencing an episode from when he was the little kid version that I never saw. And I don't even want to hear about it. Don't tell me when you were 12. Don't reference those episodes. I didn't like them.
Yeah, he's talking to all the musicians, and Sidney Bechet is the only one who is cold and standoffish towards him. All the other guys love him. I wrote in my notes, Indiana Jones is beloved by black jazz musicians everywhere, and the way he charms them is by talking about places they have previously worked. Oh yeah, I went to this place once. It's like if someone was like, oh, I got Thomas Hughes did my wedding video. Would you be like, hey, this guy's all right?
I would certainly. I would have some affection for them. Yeah, I mean, everybody that's toured loves talking about all the places they've toured. That all makes sense to me. There's a lot of stuff in this that I agree I would not characterize as Indiana Jonesy, where it's embarrassing and it's like, why are you doing this? Stop doing this. But this is a very relatable version, at least, of that irritating trope in these shows, where he is just like, oh yeah, I just really like jazz. It's really cool how you were doing that. And Sidney Bechet just not being into it, I thought was good. But he does eventually warm up to him, gives him the soprano sax that Indy claims to have played in the military, and then he plays something that's like, I don't think it's a Belgian tune. I do think it's military-ish, but.
Why don't you practice a little bit?
So he's just kind of tooting along. Elliot Ness is not a fan of his tooting, but then Elliot invites him to a fraternity party. Elliot has to wear a little beanie because I guess he's a pledge or something to the fraternity. So so he goes to the party but brings his horn with him in his little case. And some lady's like, oh, hey, you play music? Here, I want you to play for me. He's like, okay. And she's like, all right, stop the music. This man is going to play for you. So he attempts to kind of play along with these total squares singing April Showers, wearing like barbershop quartet outfits.
Yeah. No, it's a nightmare. This goes badly for him.
It does, but the two good parts of it is that the woman who had asked him to play is like, what were you doing? And he's like,
What were you doing?
It was jazzing. Did you like it?
No.
And then, though, there's an old black waiter there who's like, that's the best music I've heard in this place, which is maybe more of an insult to the place than it is a compliment to Indy's stuff. But he uses that on Sidney Bechet. He's like, a black guy said I was good. And Sidney Bechet is like, All right, well, if you're so good, let's see you. And then has him play with them, and it's terrible and embarrassing, and we hate it.
Man. What? You is a danger to society. Put that honey down.
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was the best There was the best music in this thing. I just like that straight, clean, traditional saxophone. No frills. Just a guy tooting out the individual notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
We didn't get there yet. He was playing along with, Turkey in the Straw or something. But the piano player, I was like, it's Forrest Whitaker. No, it's not. But it really looks like Forrest Whitaker. I looked it up. It's Damon Whitaker, Forrest's brother, who played young Ghost Dog in Ghost Dog.
I wouldn't have guessed, based on how he looks in this, that he was the younger Whitaker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he certainly looks younger because he doesn't have the eye thing. So he just looks like a little more fresh-faced.
Yeah. So Elliot Ness, they both get kicked out of this club because there's some hijinks where, like, he loses his hat, and then people are throwing the hat around, and he can't get the hat back.
Yeah, because they're serving alcohol during Prohibition times. If there's one thing Elliot Ness does not cotton to, it is alcohol being served.
He doesn't object on moral grounds. He's worried that his parents will find out.
Sure.
Who are working for the Alcohol Control Board. So he tries to leave. He loses his hat. Oh, these people are throwing my hat around. I got to get my hat. And this kicks up enough dust that they both get 86'd out of this bar. They get shown the door, given the old bum rush.
Yeah. I do like that he's like, oh, but Sidney Bechet is playing there. He's like, come on, Sid. He knows me. We work together. And they're like, you know this guy? He's like, yeah, I know this guy. It's like, well, I'm going to throw him out. He's like, yeah, all right.
Hey, Sid, you know these kids?
This one?
Yeah, me and Sid, man, we're pals. We work at Coliseumos together. He'll vouch.
I was going to throw him out of here, Sid.
Fine by me.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Sidney Bechet then is like, here's why jazz is like what it's like. There's a lot of just sort of, hey, do you know what jazz is? Children watching this show? If not, you'll get a better sense of it by the end of it. And the music is really good in this, I thought, consistently, for how often when you're watching something that is a period piece from a period that it is no longer, and you see like, oh, well, this is a 90s version of this. There's a certain extent of that, but it's really pretty minimally objectionable. So Indy is also working at Coliseumos restaurant. Coliseum, Big Tony or Big whatever the hell, Big Jim Coliseum was the big crime boss in the area at the time. In reality, more on that later. For now, it's just about jazz. But if you know that, then that is kind of hanging over this.
You told me that the second episode we watched was originally two different episodes that were stitched together. That also feels true of this one. Yeah. Because the first one is just, don't you love jazz? Indy does. Here's his adventure trying to learn to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but in a jazzy way, so that he can impress Sidney Bechet, which he does. But then the second half is like, no, his boss, Mr. Colissimo, has been murdered. We have to crack this case. All the jazz stuff is a million miles away now. He doesn't go back to the club. He's not playing his horn. Not until the very end is there any, like, reminder, oh, yeah, Sidney Bechet was involved in this story. I grant you once again the cynicism that is my privilege as someone who didn't watch this as a child. This just feels bad. This feels wrong. This feels like story threads that should have been woven together somehow, and they just aren't. They just sit there next to each other staring at you. For initially, I was like, is this going to be a thing where, like, because of racism, they assume, like, some of the black people who were at the restaurant were the ones who did the murder, You know, because they're sort of hammering. There's a bunch of scenes that sort of ominously are there to like make Indy realize that racism exists and is wrong.
Right.
Like someone at the club says something bigoted, but no, nothing really. Nothing that happens in this really implicates anything else that happens in it. It feels like.
Yeah, I think it's because they probably wanted to keep it available to split up into 45-minute episodes for syndication or any kind of rerunning because this was like a special movie night episode. We're doing an hour and a half, and Harrison Ford is in it.
I see. So you think then was that so they're not all mostly this length?
No.
Okay.
They did a couple where they did that. The first episode is Young Indy and then Teen Young Indy back to back. And it's like, oh, here's him when he's a kid. He meets Lawrence of Arabia. And here's him where he's a teen and they're buddies. I sense a plushie about to rear its dispiriting head.
What are you talking? Dispiriting? Well, I wasn't going to bring him up, but now that you've brought it up, I guess I have to. Would you call this dispiriting?
Yeah.
Those eyes blipping out. Wait, there we
Oh. Great. He's killed you.
No, he was a real champ today. He helped me watch the show. What did this remind me of? There was something else. Oh, it was Midnight in Paris, where Ernest Hemingway's in it, and
Sure.
Gertrude Stein. And I remember watching that, and I was like, I feel embarrassed watching this. It's embarrassing to watch like your Ernest Hemingway fan fiction, which is what this now feels like to me. And I think that was a feeling I kept coming back to in this quite a lot. Less so, because it's less like... I think because having Ernest Hemingway... Oh, this is him at the height of his powers when he's, sort of a blunt, writerly alpha male who is sort of speaking in the manner he writes. I think
More than sort of.
I think that's a little more embarrassing to me than this, where it's like, well, no, we don't really have much of an opinion about what we think of who Ernest Hemingway is. It's just a name we've slapped on this character. That is maybe less defensible, but also feels less embarrassing to me because it's not trying to say something. And this is the irony poisoned world in which we live. Sincerity is the greatest sin.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to say anything by having Ernest Hemingway sound like Ernest Hemingway, except that maybe it's all happening in his head in that movie, which is a great movie and a lot of fun. And if you didn't like it, you're a dud and a stick in the mud, in my opinion. But so for this one, he learns to play jazz.
It's no Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. You're gonna start throwing bombs. We're gonna go at it. You watch yourself.
I do think that it is better than Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, also, in spite of the filmmaker.
Do you think Owen Wilson should have played Indiana Jones at some point?
I don't know. I should have seen him. Maybe back then. Who's to say? I don't know what he looked like in 1992. Sean Patrick Flannery, I don't like. I've never liked him in anything else, but this is like his most charming for me. But so Indiana Jones, just real quick, learns to play saxophone. Sidney Bechet is like, just practice one song a lot instead of trying to do a bunch of jazzy stuff that doesn't mean anything, that doesn't fit with anything else that's going on. He does, yes, learn a little lesson about racism, but mostly it's like, well, I lived in Africa as a child. This American racism is obviously a weird thing to me. And then he meets some other figures. Keith David is barely in this as King Oliver. I was astonished that he was in it at all when I saw his name in the credits. And I was like, well, it's because he's barely noticed. That whoever's playing Louis Armstrong gets much more screen time.
Hey, good to see you, Sidney.
Hey, still smoking.
Hey, Louis, it's Sidney.
Jane Krakowski of 30 Rock fame plays Dale Winter.
Yeah,
and
the mob guy's wife, the mobbed up restaurant guy's new, hotter, younger wife.
Yeah. So that ends well. He learns jazz. Great, he can jazz now. Now he's back at work, and his mobbed up boss gets murdered in the front hallway as he did. There's there's a lot of Italian stuff going on here. Like, hey, make sure he gets the pasta fazool, which I'm sure you were just like, yeah, you're eating it up like a big bowl of pasta fazool. And then But there's a dark side to all that food, and it's the criminal connections. So the restaurant owner, as I'm sure happened at some point in your family, gets murdered by somebody that wants to take over the restaurant, and
that's not that never happened in my family. The restaurant owner was my great grandmother, who died
before her.
Who died at 98, not of murder.
But then the heroic Irish cop comes in to settle all this. Now, what's all this now? Let's see. Oh, he was a good man.
The heroic Irish cop, totally incompetent. And the savvy Italian knows it. He's like, you're going to make sure you take care of whoever got this. And he's like, oh, he was a friend, of course. I'm taking this one on personally. And he doesn't. He doesn't do anything. He accomplishes nothing.
He does a lot. He keeps it from getting out what happened and how. What's great in this is
I'll tell you what he does.
Yeah. Let the record state the witness is making the glug glug motion. So there's an accountant there who's like, he had a lot of cash on him.
You wore a money belt. The thief got his money.
How much was in it?
A lot.
Stand back. How much was Mr. Carissimo carrying?
200 maybe.
That's not a lot.
$200,000.
Which in 1920 is insane. And
millions of dollars in cash,
just on his money belt. But the guy that says 200,000, Mark Jeffrey Miller, I couldn't find anything that I knew him from. The cop, though, I'll get to. But that guy, the 200,000, he has the perfect face just for this one line. Just he's like all like pointy and just like, I'm smarter than you, and I'm going to convey like how dumb you are for even suggesting that I thought $200 was a lot. It's just like he's in this for 30 seconds and I think of him not infrequently.
Sort of like your brother in that delivery.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. He's very much an type.
Of course, the great conceit of it is that the confusion here was caused by your deliberate verbal misindication.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
you gave false information. Now you're mocking it. Yeah.
Yes. But Malachi McCourt, the actor who plays the Irish cop, you know what you know him from. There's two things you definitely know him from.
Yeah, is that so? Don't threaten me. I might not. I might have forgotten.
That's true, but you could know him from.
You said Malik. Is the actor actually that guy who used to call Art Bell's show, Dr. Malachi Martin, to talk about papal business?
I should say I don't know.
Okay.
That is not the movie you know him from.
Okay. What's the movie? Tell me the movie without telling me who he is in it.
Well, I will because I barely know, but he's in The Field, a movie you definitely saw. There's evidence you saw.
Oh, wow. Yeah, The Field is basically a money laundering scheme for Irish character actors. Okay.
And Q.
Q the Winged Serpent?
Q the Winged Serpent.
Okay.
As they said off stage when the Winged Serpent was supposed to get on. Q the Winged Serpent.
I have seen Q the Winged Serpent. That's a hell of a film. Have you seen it?
Yes, so would you. Michael Moriarty, another Irish character actor.
Yeah, I think he's paid his dues. He's an American to me.
Irish got no respect for life, says Al Brown in this.
Yeah, there's a bit of sectarianism happening here. Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that he was getting work. It doesn't move the needle much for me as far as how I felt about it. But
so anyway, Elliot Ness, Indy, and Ernest Hemingway, who is currently working as a reporter, along with Ben Hecht, who went on to write Scarface. So they make a point of talking about him a lot. He's like barely in it, but they're like, Ben Hecht. And he's like, I'm going to write a picture. But Ernest Hemingway, played by, come on, this one you should know.
I don't.
Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four, 1994. Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, which I told you on that episode. This one you should know, because
you remember the last thing Kevin had us do.
Yes, you remember the last episode
for the bonus feed. I don't remember what those people look like.
Apparently,
I watched something like that. I'm not like, okay, let's delete some things out of the cache in my brain to make room for the Johnny Storm actor.
It's been a week. You don't remember what his face looks like, and
that is in and out. In and out. Get it out of here. It was out the second we finished recording the podcast. it transitioned from you seeming like you were angry at me on a professionalism or just basic mental level that I did not remember how he looks. And then it sort of shifted to where it felt like you were just personally hurt that I thought so little of this man. And I'm not sure which it is now.
No, I will say that I always liked Ernest Hemingway in this. I, at the time of watching this show, had no idea that Sidney Bechet played soprano sax, so I was just like, oh, he's a clarinet guy I'd never heard of. They should have somebody famous in this part. And then when we had Hemingway, I hadn't read any of his stuff, but I was like, I like this guy, like his energy, like his whole thing going on here. Now watching it, 1 week after watching Fantastic Four, I was like, I don't like this guy. I don't like his whole thing going on here. It really did. So. It tainted the whole thing.
When they first introduced him, I couldn't hear what name they called him, and I had to rewind it to hear Ernest, because the first time I thought they called him Kearney. I was like, oh man.
Kearney Hemingway.
Oh man, it's my grandpa.
Yep. So they go through some adventures. They find where the booze is coming from, and therefore that's probably how maybe somebody knew when to meet him where. There's a big funeral. I assume you want one like this, where there's like a statue of you that's just like covered in flowers, but there's like a very realistic head at the top of it.
What I want is the big cake with the Catholic cross in the middle and the Italian like ribbon colors exploding out of it. I also want my homely first wife to show up and threaten to kill my new hotter
I do
younger
want that.
wife.
I do want that. That's not a comment on my actual first wife. So they go on. They solve the mystery. They bring it all home, and at last the Irish cop is like, oh, well, it'd be a shame if any of this evidence fell into the wrong hands, and tears it up. Indy has been told by Sidney Bechet that though he can play jazz now, he may not play the blues, for he doesn't have the world weariness in spite of his wartime experiences.
Yeah, in spite of the fact that he's lived like a full adult's life in like 3 years
yes.
of being on this show. Frankly, he doesn't. At the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, would you be like, oh, he seems like he's ready to play the blues? I say no, because he seems so unaffected. He seems kind of unaffected. He doesn't strike me as a guy who has a lot of blues. He's
at the
grumpy.
End of Raiders, definitely.
He's
at the
grumpy.
End of Raiders,
I don't think he's blue.
Yes, he is definitely blue at the end of Raiders.
He's mad at the government. That's different from being blue.
He feels that there's no hope and that nothing will ever go right, as he does here at the end of this one. And then Sidney Bechet looks him in the eye and knows that he can play the blues. You can play the blues.
Time for you to play the blues.
There's a lot of stuff in this that could have been like Magical Black Guy, oh, what an amazing kid. But it's all done actually pretty delicately, I feel, for the era and for the style of show it is. I thought it was very surprisingly uncringy. Once it started, I was like, wait, is this just going to be like, I don't know, is this going to feel like Bleeding Gums Murphy or something? Am I going to feel uncomfortable with this? But no.
Conversely, I felt... not to an extreme, but I felt a bit like that about all this. It just struck me as, well, this is how all this stuff was in the early 90s. No sense getting too upset about it now, but it didn't. I think the best part of this episode for me is at the beginning when the killing happens, and then okay, we gotta crack this murder. Mm-hmm. Then I was like, okay, we've got somewhere to go. We got something to do. You are right that the action in this eclipses the effort that you would put into action on TV, certainly in these days, by a pretty wide margin. And yet, I wasn't very excited by it. I kind of wanted it to feel more like I'm watching an Indiana Jones thing. And to me, Indiana Jones is not, I'm helping to solve a guy who was murdered because of a murder mystery about prohibition and like booze running. Like, to me, I'm like, where's the artifact you're trying to get? What interesting exotic locale are you going to? Stipulating that I've already seen a lot of the inside of Calissimo's bar and restaurant, and Chicago doesn't feel like a destination you go to do your adventuring to me.
That is where he starts generally. But it's Chicago in the past, Chicago in the 20s. I would for sure go to Chicago in the 20s. Had I the ability to go anywhere in time and space, that would be in my top list somewhere.
Hoping
50
to be
easy.
Killed,
25.
hoping to be killed by Al Brown, huh?
Yes, Al Brown, who ends up being Al Capone.
That's
the
right.
internet tells me that he didn't do it, but who's to say? They never caught who actually did it for sure. But it is funny because they're like, Al Capone did it. This is the guy. He's now going to take over after the like heir apparent does. He's his second in command. Then he takes over later. But because they put in Elliot Ness, then it's like the Joker killing Batman's parents. It's like they were always fated to come to this. They have hated each other all their lives.
Yeah, it's the start of a long and twisted legacy here. For me, watching this, when it got to be about 20 minutes in, I checked the timeline and I was like, "Woo, this is moving pretty slow for me."
Mm-hmm.
And then when I hit the turn where it's like, okay, clearly now it's a totally different thing. I checked it again. It was about halfway done, and I was like, "Ooh, that's." I was really thinking we were coming to the end of the whole thing when the jazz thing started wrapping up.
Yeah.
And there was not a lot of goodwill left in me by the end, but I had at that point already committed to you that I would watch more once I finished the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I am, you know me, I mean, we agree about a lot of stuff on this show. I don't try to manufacture hype or court attention just by disagreeing with you. But yes, you do.
Oh.
But for me, this gets this first episode. There's no commentary on the next one, which will be scored separately. I will be awarding 2 thumbs down.
Okay. Out of how many possible thumbs?
Well, how many thumbs are you giving it? 2 thumbs up?
I wasn't gonna give it any thumbs. I had no such intention or thought going into
Based
this.
on how you've been talking, if you were being honest with yourself, it sounds like you're going to give it 1 up and 1 down, which would then work out to a 3 down, 1 up score.
It's just not. That's not. It's not a system. The double thumbs. If anything, I mean, like Ian's kids will rate things, and they went from thumbs up to 2 thumbs up to then, of course, you suddenly you're like, well, as good as this. Daya cheese sandwich was. It was a 2 thumbs up sandwich. Well, obviously the vegan chocolate chip cookies are a lot better than that. So then they went into 10 fingers up, and then I think toes even. So I would say, on a more fair rating, I would give it about 7 fingers up. And but if you're giving it 2 thumbs down, that's still not so bad.
7. So you're giving it 7. So you're saying 7 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah. Close to that, for sure.
It's up to you now at home. Watch this. You can watch this on. You can watch any of these you want on archive.org. I found all of them up there.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I found the second one, the Demons of Deception one, which is the name of the second episode we watched. I found on YouTube, just plumb up there, uploaded by Lucasfilm, I believe. So.
Oh. All right. Maybe they won't challenge me when I start dropping in drops, but I doubt it somehow.
I doubt it too. But yes, you can check that out. The Mystery of the Blues Mystery. What's it called?
Mystery of the Blues. No, the
Mystery
cleaner.
of the Blues. Yes. And at the end, Harrison. We cut back to Harrison Ford in the cabin. They get held up at gunpoint by a sort of a guy who's like. He's a bald guy with glasses. So you're like, is this like the Nazi from Raiders of the Lost Ark? But he's also clearly weaker and like heavier set and more of like a dork.
Yeah.
More of a farce. But he's like, well, they have guns. What can we do? But then he toots his horn so good as they're leaving the house that it causes a little avalanche off the roof, burying them in snow. It's a silly joke, but I guess I liked it.
Yeah. I liked it less when I was a kid, actually. This time I was like, it's a little bit fun.
Yeah.
I forgot that in the episode, I for having seen this one a million times and knowing a lot of the lines, I was shocked that there was a line I didn't know where he says, Sidney Bechet asks him if he plays music, and he says, I play some ancient pipes like panpipes.
Play some ancient flutes, panpipes.
Panpipes.
And that's funny to me. I assume that's from an episode or something, but it's just a great answer when somebody's like, you play music and you're like picturing yourself playing panpipes. You should just maybe just don't say that part out loud.
You work for the airlines?
No. The airline works for me.
Ah, you're that guy. What is it they call you? The Pirate of Wall Street?
I prefer acquisition specialist.
Yeah, fine.
I bought an inefficient company that's bleeding money.
Why did you buy it?
So I could break it up and sell it, plane by plane.
What about the people that work for you, the pilots? That stewardess down there?
I buy and sell companies, sir. I'm not running an employment agency.
We're talking about people's lives here.
You don't understand. Let me explain.
No, hold on. No. You listen to me, Sonny. You know, you remind me of someone I met in the First World War. I enlisted in the Belgian army under an alias. They made me a courier, and before I knew it, I was at the high command of the French Second Army. At Verdun, one of the worst battles of the war.
So, second episode, he's in Verdun. He is already has been with the Belgian army for some time. He is now a courier for them, and the local brass, the French brass, are saying that they're going to use Belgian couriers because their couriers are infiltrated by German spies. And they're like, the Belgians, we don't need their scum.
New couriers. Belgians.
Belgians? They are an inferior lot.
You want us all tap dancing to the beat of Tin Tin?
Yes. He is sort of a Tintin type
existed. He is a bit Tintin-esque in this, yeah.
Yeah. His outfit, his job, his leather tube that he carries the messages in, all of it, I was like, this is everything I've ever wanted. I love this look. I want that motorcycle. I will dress like this. And someday, maybe, not just that I would have done this, but maybe someday I will do this.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't happened yet, but we don't know.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
It could still happen. It could still happen. If
All
the
of
right things
technology
are
could fall
going.
apart, yeah, and then we're in some sort of big bad war. This all feels believable. We get some scenes of just general World War I violence to start this off, and there's at one point a Wilhelm scream, and I was like, I know back then you weren't spotting these so much, but nowadays it feels a little disrespectful to throw in the Wilhelm scream.
I did also want to quickly mention, I forgot this, but in the first one, you see, the first episode we watched, you see him running around a lot with the right hat, but not the leather jacket, with just like a fabric blazer. It looks terrible. Don't give him the hat, the Indy hat, if he's not full Indy yet, and he's not going to dress like Indy. In this, he's got the leather jacket. It's not the right leather jacket. But seeing him with like a cloth or a linen jacket and the hat on, I thought to myself, is this Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, or is this the Young Torgo Chronicles?
He wears a hat. He wears the same hat at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he's wearing just a suit. He wears that hat with everything. It goes with everything. People just wore hats back then. You're not going to not give him a hat.
You're so mad.
Ridiculous.
You're so mad.
I am so mad.
I win.
The hat looks good. Yes, as long as I'm mad, you win. So then they're like, oh, who's our fastest rider? Like, Defense, he rides like the wind. And you see him, he's, with in wartime, with his wartime motorcycle, throwing a ball up against a wall. And I was like, we already were thinking of Steve McQueen, but it's a bit much to have him have this same affectation. Yeah. And they send him off to go deliver a message to go attack Fort Douaumont. One of the generals has said is bad. Don't do that because we already attacked there. They'll be all ready. They fortified their defenses there from that same direction. And the new guy in charge is like, whatever. No, I want to take it. So attack.
Yeah, they have bullet bills there now. The second you get close, those bullet bills are going to start flying.
Bullet Bill's not the biggest threat. Bullet Bill's always just sort of a joke.
They're a big threat when you don't have that kind of hops.
That's
if you
true.
can jump over them, it's fine. A normal person can't jump more than a full body length off the ground.
That's true. That's a good point. So he goes out there, delivers the letter to one guy, and he's down in the bunker, and then he's like, all right, we'll get this to Major Gaston. But when he shows up to the guy in the bunker, so many of these lines are burned in the old brain. This one is but one of them, where he says, he's on the phone, is this major or whatever, and he's like, not in a week, not in 2 weeks, tonight or tomorrow, my men need new boots.
Not in a week, not in 2 weeks, tonight or tomorrow, my men need new boots.
And then my children need wine then became like, are they referencing this exact episode? Or is that just for me? Did that episode even come out before or after this one?
I think that's just for you and for me. It's for people everywhere with very healthy, wrinkly brains.
But so he's like, all right, we'll get this message to Major Gaston because now apparently we're attacking, so we're bombarding them right now. If he doesn't get this before the bombardment stops, then they'll have time to regroup and they're going to mow them down. But he says this very slowly, very carefully, and then very slowly hands him the note. Indy shows up at Major Gaston, and then the bombardment stops. And he's like, oh, well, I guess we're attacking. It's like, really, just get a little quicker. We could have done this right. Some guy hands him a box of mementos and is like, take this to my wife in Marseille. He's like, no, what? I can't take this from you. It's slow motion. And then they do indeed all get mowed down. Later they say there were 600 deaths. It's maybe a little broad the way that they're sort of characterizing the generals in a literal chateau. It's wild to me seeing it as a kid. I pictured it being way farther away, and I'm like, no, it actually is like, here's where the war is happening, and then here's over here that just doesn't get affected by the war really. But the level of nonchalance, to use the French word, that they treated this whole thing with, of just marching people towards absurdly giant guns and machine guns. The first machine guns we really had, I mean, there were Gatling guns in Civil War, but like proper machine guns, and just like, we don't have any new tactics, we just have a lot of new weapons, so we'll just throw everyone at it just forever. Was insane and evil and crazy. And still watching this as a kid, I was like, looks pretty cool though. I wish I'd fought in this war. It's the thing they say.
I can't share your opinion on that. I've never seen a war thing and been like, I wish I was in there. But I'll tell you what I have watched and wished. I have watched Indiana Jones movies and thought, I wish I could do cool Indiana Jones stuff. And again, not to belabor the point, but this isn't Indiana Jones stuff.
Okay. I don't know what you want him to be. He's just in a jungle every episode getting another artifact?
He's looking for things, uncovering things. He's displaying intellectual curiosity. He's showing off that he knows German in this. I'd like to see more of him, like, the wonderment of the archaeological, lifestyle or zeal inside him feels pretty tamped down in these 2 episodes we've watched, at any rate.
He's excited by everything. He's all about, he's like the fastest motorbike rider. He's doing all the stuff. Oh, war's so bad. I love jazz. He's got wonderment. That's one of the few things he has in common with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, this wasn't Indiana Jonesy enough for me. If I'm going to tune into the Indiana Jones show, I should be watching Indiana Jones.
Okay. We did 20 minutes on this at the beginning of the episode. All right, so we know. He's not very Indiana Jonesy in this. So we get to a very important scene, one that sticks with me forever and has aided my understanding of World War I since before I knew what the fuck World War I was, where they lay out some foods. He only after having served in the army for like a year does he say, like, well, what's all this war about? Why are we at war? What is World War I, if I may deem it so? And his Belgian buddy is like, well, here's a tomato. This is Serbia. Here's some salt. That's Austria. This French bread is France, obviously. This round bread, that's Russia. Belgium is the potato. That's I always forget. Belgium's the potato. And he should have a Brussels sprout, really. And then
at the point you're
Britain
at
is
the point
the
you're
beer.
doing this much setup work, you should just describe it. Just use the country names. Just talk to me normally. Don't have this whole.
Disagree. It stuck with me so well because they're like, he's like, Franz Ferdinand is assassinated. Austria threatens to invade Serbia because he's killed in Austria, or he's killed in Serbia. He is an Austrian, and so then he salts the tomato and then eats it. So
but is threatening
nothing.
Is having a salt shaker labeled Austria and a tomato labeled Serbia is then salting the tomato? Is that an adequate metaphor for threaten to invade? I don't think it is.
I think it's more actually invading, but it works okay.
Look, France is on the left. Russia is on the right. The sausage is Germany, okay? Now, this is Austria. The potato is Belgium, and the beer is Britain. And here, we have Serbia. Now, when the Archduke of Austria is assassinated in Serbia, Austria threatens to invade Serbia.
What about Germany?
Germany, as an ally of Austria, declares war on Russia and an ally of Serbia.
But we're fighting in France.
Yes, indeed we are. France declares war to Germany and Austria because of their alliance with Russia.
What about Belgium?
Belgium. When Germany went to attack France, Belgium was on the way.
And Britain didn't like that, so they joined against Germany and Austria.
Right.
So we're fighting to protect Serbia, a tiny country no one's ever heard of. That's what this war's all about?
Hey, Serbs care. Don't be like that.
Kevin, the Warriors don't have any Serbian players anymore. You don't have to virtue signal in this way.
Who did they have?
Was Bielica? Was he
maybe
Serbian?
Porzingis?
Porzingis is not Serbian, I don't think.
I don't know any of these guys.
I believe he's
Jokic.
German. Sure. Do the Warriors have Nikola Jokic on their team?
Do they?
I don't think they do.
Did they trade Kuminga for him?
I hear they're gonna trade Kuminga for a real Red Ryder wagon.
So Indy goes off on another bike ride, motor, and gets attacked by a biplane. Gets shot at with machine guns and then gets two little bombs dropped on him. It does feel like a lot to just stop one motorcyclist, but it also, watching this, I'm like, wow, this reminds me of how much I liked Battlefield 1942. What a fun game. Isn't it fun to just fly around over people and just drop shit on them? I bet this was one of the best jobs in the Army at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's overkill when you consider how hard it is to get messages from place to place.
Yeah.
In this period of time, I think it's a worthwhile. Obviously, a lot of this centers around the imperative of written communiques, written and signed by one's commanding officer. What's the name of the gun? Oh, the Big Bertha gun.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes. Yeah, there's a guy who's the artillery guy that when Indy shows up, and he's really about these guns. He won't shake Indy's hand, but then he's like, "You like guns? Every healthy young man loves guns." That's a phrase in my head. He's like, "This is this insanely huge thing, and this is nothing compared to the Big Berthas, this new sort of howitzer which fires 2,000-pound shells. It takes 100 men to load it."
Big Bertha.
Who's Big Bertha?
Not who, what? The Krupp howitzer. He's German. The meanest cannon ever made. Takes over 100 men to load and fire it. She fires a 2,000-pound shell.
2,000 pounds?
Yep, enough TNT to blow this place to the moon.
What's astonishing watching this, which I didn't really connect to as a kid, was this is old. You know what I mean? Like, this is ancient for us now. For now, it's 100 plus years old. Even then, it was, 70. But when is it enough? When is it enough? This is insane. It's so evil and crazy that we did this. And then we're like, but it's pretty big. We should really get bigger, crazier, more destructive. So he plants the seed of the notion that there are these huge, insane guns. And then they ask if any of the Belgians can speak German. And Indy's like, I can speak German. They're like, all right. Well, you're going to do this spying mission for us. We didn't tell you what it was that you were going to be doing.
Yeah. You're kind of a moron, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I
volunteer for anything.
Does anyone speak German? Well, what do you think they're ordering takeout?
We
need someone to go pick up our bratwurst.
Yeah. I mean, at best, you're going to be there while they're like torturing a German and like translating for them. So he crawls out. They're like, Germans don't take spies alive. He runs into a guy who's been shot in the legs and stomach. And he's like, I'll come back for you. Don't worry about it. He's like, I've been here since yesterday. And on some level, he has to be like, I don't know that we're going to be able to save this one. I kind of have this mission I'm on. But then he goes out on his mission, goes to the German bunker, and then promptly, seemingly falls asleep. I had forgotten that it's just like, man, what a day.
Yeah.
And they hear him snoring.
Maybe he fell asleep from stress.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it shows, how later, when Marion's trying to make out with him and he just falls asleep, it's foreshadowing that version of himself. He can sleep anywhere, anytime. Puts his hat over his eyes. But he wakes up.
Tucks his throbbing erection between his legs.
He wakes up in time to hear them say, "Oh, we're about to meet two ladies named Big Bertha," in German.
Zwei schöne deutsche Mädchen vorstellen. Und die heißen Dicke Bertha. Big Bertha.
And then a guy who they sent to see who was snoring finds him, and he tosses a grenade, kills many of them. It rolls into some like TNT box they have there, coincidentally. Runs back across no man's land, finds the guy who was dying. He is now dead. The German that he thought he had killed is still alive. This zombie German just rises from the grave.
He's at this point in a mass grave of sorts.
Yes, yeah.
A pit of dead bodies.
Yeah, that's just so many dead bodies. And gets back and is like, all right, I've got the information. Here it is. They're bringing in Big Berthas. Let's not attack. And they're like, well, are you exaggerating? Did this really happen? And he's like, man, I wish I knew how to play the blues. I'd be playing it right now, but I don't yet.
This whole thing feels a little unearned in the narrative. Like, I think the thing where you're like, well, do you, like an Alien where she's like, you don't understand how bad this alien is. Or in Aliens. And they're like, well, are you really on the level here? It was probably just the one, and it probably wasn't as bad as you say. It doesn't feel like there's any build up to like justify this turn where they're like, we just sent you on this mission to spy.
Well, the people that sent him on the mission are not the general who has been sent in to replace the guy that was too worried to attack. He's like, this fort is really important. It's important for the soul of the French people. They care, and I was sent to deal with it. But he kind of does chicken out finally. They send a written order. The one like good general who isn't like, oh, war stirs the soul of the soldier. So then the yet higher, the commander-in-chief comes in and is like, the shooting stop. It sounds like the shooting stop, Neville.
What's that? It sounds like the shooting stopped. Sounds like the shelling stopped, Neville.
So then he calls the front and is like, hey, you're gonna do this battle. You're gonna go invade. And the guy in the bunker is like,
you gotta win this war, right?
Yeah. He's like, I won't because I can't.
I order you to resume the attack.
I won't, sir.
What?
I won't because I can't.
I'm the commander-in-chief of the army. I'm giving you a direct order.
And I am staring at an order canceling the attack. A written order signed by General Pétain. A written order can be changed only by another written order. If you really are commander-in-chief, you'll understand because you wrote that regulation.
Yeah, it's like trying to cancel a gym membership. It's like, I can't call you on the phone and do that. I have to mail a letter to Los Angeles, certified mail.
Yes. So Indy is given the orders and is told, like, oh, well, they're going to have to attack it. There you go. And so then he, along the way, ditches his own motorcycle, lights the orders on fire. It blows up the motorcycle. Snoopy crawling around back behind. Do you think they should have digitally added Snoopy? World War I flying ace?
I don't think that would have helped my contention that this doesn't feel enough like Indiana Jones for me. I think I would have preferred they add other classic Lucasfilm characters. The kids from Zombies Ate My Neighbors, the Tentacle from Day of the Tentacle. These are the kinds of cameos I'd want to see.
A textbook point-and-click thing, though. Take orders, put in, use orders with motorcycle. Use,
And you'd be furious. You'd be like, use orders with motorcycle. How's that? What it would have to be for it to be a fair challenge, there would have to be a separate little area you could click for the nozzle of the fuel tank.
Yes.
To indicate that there's something to do with that.
Right. Well, and he'd be like, I can't put the orders on the motorcycle. And then it'd be like, oh, I can't put the orders on the gas tank. It's closed. Open gas tank. Then in this version, we cut to him talking to Remy, just like in a pit somewhere, saying,
how old is Remy supposed to be? Because Remy looks like he could be like 48 years old.
Yeah.
He's a 48-year-old, very heavy set, sort of like dorky Belgian.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be Indy's age or maybe a few years older, but he really always read to me as, mid-40s.
Because when he's like, oh, I'll believe that we can go to Paris when I have two lovely mademoiselles on my lap, on his lap, I'm like, aren't you a little, I don't know, you're just talking about how horny you are with this relative child? You're what, 47, 48?
Yeah, I think
you're relying on this guy to get you laid? I mean, it's a better bet than you going out on your own, I guess, but...
You are living in a chateau, large, dry, close to so much good food, close to so many beautiful women in the village.
Not in that village. No, the real women are in Paris, Remy.
Paris. Don't talk about it. What wouldn't I give to be in Paris now?
Well, we may be there soon.
Don't be stupid.
No, I mean it. I just got a letter from a friend of my father's, and he may be able to get us a furlough to Paris.
I believe that. When I'll have a beautiful, soft, blonde little mademoiselle on my lap, and two more on each arm.
Yeah, but in the original, we cut to old Indy saying,
well, the orders never got there. Nobody ever found out what I did. The attack was delayed, and 10,000 men lived a day longer. The French finally retook Fort Douaumont. There were 20,000 casualties.
And that's the way it is.
Yeah. And then they're like, sir, are you going to pay for your donuts?
His problem was that he couldn't understand the consequences of his actions on the little guy. So don't end up like him, bub.
So yeah, you didn't like this one either. Did it feel more like Indy? At least he's doing some action stuff.
No, it doesn't feel anything like Indy. It doesn't feel like Indy characterization. You seem annoyed that I keep saying this, but it doesn't feel like Indy stuff. If he had these experiences
He's being attacked by the Germans. He's riding around on a motorcycle being attacked by Germans.
Yeah, I tell you what, when you see the Germans, are they dressed in their sparkling German Nazi uniforms? No, they're wearing ridiculous Kaiser helmets. It's not the same. It wasn't the same when Spielberg was like, maybe it can be the communists now in Crystal Skull. And it's not the same when they were like, well, what if we have him fighting the Kaiser's forces in France? Setting aside all these other complaints, is it really Indy? How does it make me feel about Indy? Do I think it's well written? Do I think he's as charismatic as Indy? All these questions you can probably surmise by now I have answered with a no, of varying degrees of severity. But at the end of the day, I was just very bored. I was bored through all of this. And I think for me, if you showed me this and told me this has nothing to do with Indiana Jones, I wouldn't be that into it because I don't think it's that good.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you tell me it is Indiana Jones, that only makes it worse. Because now you're like, this thing that's unrecognizable to you, that isn't exciting you, that you're kind of like slogging through. Well, this is one of the most fun guys in film history. You should be loving this. I don't know. It's not for me. That's all you can really say about something that's not for you, is it's not for me. But I mean, this is one of those big tests of, me not having seen something as a kid. But it is a little different because I did see and really enjoy Indiana Jones. I liked the whole thing. Liked the vibe, liked the adventuring, liked the aesthetic. I liked the energy of that sort of, 40s, 50s serialized adventure story for boys sort of vibe that was still much more in then in the 80s and 90s than it is now.
Yeah.
I will grant you that I've only seen, 2% of the total output of this show, if that. But these two, for me, did not hit. I might be curious to see Kid Indy and see if getting further away from adult Indy so that it's not as upsetting that he's not Indy helps.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to think that it will not. You seem to think Kid Indy is the worst fate of all.
Yeah, he's just irritating. Just an irritating kid. I don't want to believe that Indiana Jones wasn't cool.
I was very irritated by Sean Patrick Flannery in this. I really was. Every time it would zoom in and he'd just be like putting on a face. He'd be like looking with his little eyes or doing something with his face. And I'd be like, I feel like I'm Harrison Ford taking the hat back from Shia LaBeouf. Sorry, kid. You're not Indiana Jones.
You died off screen.
At the end of this show, they should have revealed in some sort of Armin Tanzarian style thing that Harrison Ford's Indy isn't the real Indiana Jones. He stole this little dork's identity.
I'm not surprised. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I think these are fun. I do acknowledge that, as I say, all the ones that I've seen later in life, I did not think were very good. And I don't deny that Sean Patrick Flannery, and as an inherent presence, is not one that I seek out or find much joy in when I do find him. But I do really love these, and yeah, maybe it's just because I loved him as a kid. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I even then was like, this isn't Indiana Jones, and I still was like, but I like this guy, and I like it better because he says he's Indiana Jones. It all worked for me better than one might expect, and it still kind of works better for me than one might expect.
What's more and truer Indy to you, this show or Crystal Skull?
This show.
Yeah, so I assume you feel that way about Dial of Destiny, too?
Sort of not. In my recollection, I haven't seen Crystal Skull since it was new, and I don't remember Dial of Destiny, but like getting to see his younger face somehow, even just like stapled on top of some digital recreation, sort of like Bruce Lee in Game of Death. I'm still kind of like, yeah, but that's Bruce Lee there. You can see him. There he is. He's got his sunglasses on.
That's not the reason I expected you to answer that way, but I do agree. I mean, Dial of Destiny is better than Crystal Skull, and there's a lot of people out there who insist that's not true, and the reason they insist that is they don't want to accept that James Mangold, who is not someone whose career I have enjoyed, could make a better Indiana Jones movie than Steven Spielberg. That's a first principle thing. We have to hold the line. We can't concede that. But indeed you must, because Crystal Skull is simply a train wreck. And Dial of Destiny is incrementally better than that. So for me, any one of those movies is more Indy than this, because all that Indy is Harrison Ford on the silver screen. With the stipulation that in small doses, obviously I accept him in his point-and-click adventure career, too. For me, I guess, now if I'm scoring this one, it's also 2 thumbs down, which means I have, across the 2 of these, I've given 4 thumbs down. You were using fingers, so you gave 7 up, 3 down. What are you giving this one?
I'm giving this one 9 up. One's for nostalgia.
9 up. This is a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 fingers.
I don't even feel like you've been talking about it like it's a 9 out of 10, but
I love this one.
Okay.
It's all just like part of me, this whole thing, this whole episode. As I say, there are phrases that I still use and think all the time in it. I can't deny.
So, Kevin, how do you think watching this affected you as a child? Answer this in a clever way that you haven't already spontaneously divulged.
It does feel like it's sort of the point is that it really affected me. It influenced my notion of World War I, what it was like. It was cool. What the fashions were like.
It was baller.
They were good.
The people who were inventive and good and fun people escaped with their lives.
Yes.
Only the drones died.
Yep. It did impact my vision of it in a sort of a more like moving it towards more myopic way, because you're like, oh, these generals are bad, but this general is good, as opposed to it being like on all sides, all the generals were sending everybody to get mowed down one after another. No one cared. It just means that when you actually learn real history, having seen your historical figures hanging out with your buddy Indy, you're like, oh, I know that guy. I'm going to listen more when he comes up. So for that, I think it was very effective, if that's what they were trying to do.
What do you think the kid-friendliest bit of these episodes was? Not much.
Not much. I agree, except that I was a kid and I loved the whole thing. But, it's when he gets his beanie stolen and they're throwing the beanie around. He's like, my beanie! That's good stuff. You know that guy's a dork, just looking at him. And then he's like, I don't like booze. And you're like, I'm going to be a drunkard. I'm going to be a booze hound when I grow up.
When would your mom have walked in?
Maybe when he's playing bad jazz and you just be embarrassed. Or else when there's just like a jillion people dying one after another. She might have frowned upon that. It's the shot in the legs and stomach guy. She would not cotton to that.
Would you show this to a child or a future child?
I tried showing my daughter. It didn't really work, but I'd give it a shot. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think this says about society at the time?
It says that back then, we still thought all these historical figures, I think, were sort of permanent fixtures, and I feel very strongly as though society has largely forgotten a lot of these people in a way that is sad. And at the time, it's like, oh, man, of course he knows Ernest Hemingway, and now it's like, do the kids even read The Sun Also Rises in high school? I wonder. Maybe. But I don't know how much they learn about Elliot Ness and Prohibition. I think that stuff is, rightly or wrongly, it might be rightly, just sort of like, okay, yeah, that was a weird moment in our history. Doesn't really matter though, does it?
I don't see why you'd need to read Hemingway when you can read memes about the default guy from Fortnite, Jonesy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Speaking of Jonesy, he's not a sax man though. Jonesy, the sax man. Yeah, I think it was a better time, even though it was also a time where we would attempt to mine unrelated intellectual property for a little bit of juice, a little heat.
Yeah.
So we are not so different from them, but those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And also, if you remember the past, you still can't really stop that either.
It does you no good. So just forget.
Better just not to know.
Just forget and slip into the bath.
All right, that's about it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Our theme music is by Seth Milstein, aka No Rush. Find him at norush85.bandcamp.com. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can, like Spotify. Subscribe on Patreon at patreon.com/nowweknow and get 2 bonus episodes every month. Talk to us on x.com at nowweknowpod. Instagram is really the only one I think we're using still. And Twitch under the same name. Want to be a part of the show? Well, call the Now We Know hotline at 415-349-3659. Leave a message.
Check out at Now We Know Pod on Twitch. I might be Twitch streaming some Metal Gear video gameplay soon, and I'll do it on the show channel if I do. So now we know. But what do we know?
Rose is displeased. What to do?
Brad's the executive plumber.
Does your kind ever think about love, Chuck?
Well, I'll ask him, but I don't think he'll be very keen. He's already got one, you see. If I were the boy in the purple socks, I'd hang myself.
The heart of a pig?
Muffins are so simple.
Where did Doc and Dopey sleep?
There's something a little yeek about a boy that's never played baseball.
Peckerhead?
10 years ago, nuclear was the preferred waste.
My ass is twitching. You people make my ass twitch.
Hey, Yuri, don't smush package. What, are you kidding me?
To think, the next time I shoot someone, I could get arrested.
Of course, a tracking device. But why didn't we just use that from the beginning?
Shut up.
As the natural leader of the children, you're doing a horrible job.
Listen, Justin, this is important. The heat panels. The heat panels, they're terrible. Burning, they burn.
I was jazzing. Did you like it?
So now we know.
We know now.
Bye.
Bye.